Welcome to Expand Your Fempire with Caterina Rando, the podcast for women in business on a mission, sharing ideas to support you to grow, lead, and thrive. Now, here's your host, Caterina Rando.
My friend, welcome back to another episode of the Expand Your Fempire podcast. This is Caterina Rando, your host, and you know what? We have a amazing, fabulous, phenomenal woman with us today, Kortney Olson. Kortney Olson is the founder of GRRRL Clothing, and she is a woman on a mission. Kortney, I am so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's good to reconnect after the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, Kortney and I met in Arizona. We were at a women's business retreat. There was a lot of ladies there. When Kortney walked in the room with her big smile, her many tattoos, her spiky hair, I thought, hey, that is a mama that I want to meet and get to know. And I've been in love with you ever since. And Kortney, now we're going to talk about your book, but before we get there, you have a circuitous route, I would say, to entrepreneurship. And can you say a little bit about your background, how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a big word for me. I'm going to have to write that down and look it up. I'm trying to do that more these days to expand my vocabulary. Yeah, I didn't decide to be an entrepreneur. I fell into it because I wanted to be of service. And it just worked out that that's how I wound up making my income. I never knew what entrepreneurship was in high school. Didn't even really know what the word meant until I think my dad was in like his third network marketing venture at some point in my mid-20s. And even when I actually became an entrepreneur and left the auto industry, I was selling cars for a number of years. I had all sorts of sales jobs in my background. I talked my way out of a paper bag. But even when I left the auto industry and started working for myself in the muscle fetish industry, which is a whole nother podcast on its own, I didn't even know that I was an entrepreneur at that point either. I didn't understand. I couldn't believe that I'd never been exposed to the word. I mean, nowadays there's tons of stuff out there, and media is so much easier to consume in so many different formats. But I hope more young people hear these messages and truly understand the benefits, and of course the struggles as well. Because as you know, what we do is super challenging, but it's also super rewarding.
Well, now, my friend, everybody knows what the auto industry is. I don't know if all of our listeners, including myself, know what the muscle fetish industry is. Let's tell them what that is so they don't spend the rest of the podcast wondering what it is. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna build up to it, but let's go right to it. It's so basically I got into bodybuilding as a way out of drug and alcohol abuse because I became an addict, if you will, when I was 17. I was supposed to be the first female president of the United States. And even though going to a private Catholic high school, I was in a Christian rock band, was the captain of the cheerleading team, started the first girls golf team, your 4.0 GPA, I still managed to start using methamphetamines because I was so desperate to have a thigh gap. I really, really, really thought success was looking like Kate Moss. Yeah. So I wound up walking into my mom's shoes because I didn't know alcoholism and addiction is a learned behavior as well as a genetic disposition. And I chased that high for a number of years and pissed away all my scholarships, had a bunch of unfortunate events, as a lot of women do, experience sexual assault, and just became a raging hot mess for 9 years. And eventually, as I said, got into bodybuilding as a way out, like as a new addiction, if you will. Of course, along with rehabs and 12-step programs and all the rest of it. I don't want to make it sound like it was that easy to just pick up a dumbbell and all of a sudden I'm cured. But yeah, I got into bodybuilding. And whilst I was doing that, I discovered that there is a whole world of men out there that admire women who are strong and powerful in real life. I also discovered this whole other realm, right? Because this is before, Netflix was mainstream, and this was like 15 years ago. So I had no idea that people were into feet and muscular calves and wrestling and crushing watermelons between their legs, seeing women do strong things. I just had no idea, because I thought beauty was what was on the cover of a damn magazine, because that's what we're told as girls and women our whole entire life, is this is what the picture of success is. And you should spend your whole life trying not to have cellulite or wrinkles or dimples because everybody else in the world cares. And it's not true. And so it was quite an eye-opening experience for me. It was my first real turning point in stopping and starting to question the world around me and say, oh my gosh, maybe, there's a whole industry out there trying to keep me locked down and feeling miserable and full of self-pity because it's all about me and, oh, poor me, and I'm fat and I'm not good enough, as opposed to us solving real actual problems in the world, like climate change and racial injustice. Too busy worrying about being fat because that's what the system has programmed us to do. So it was my first opportunity to say, okay, this industry is full of men around the world wanting to pay me hundreds of dollars to make video clips of me being strong, being stronger than men, laughing at men. It was a total trip, and it's called a fetish because it's not mainstream. Mm-hmm. And the other reason why it's not mainstream as well is because men are told to act a certain way. They got to stay in a box and they can't step outside of that box and show emotion or cry. They're the breadwinners, they're the rock. So they're hush hush about it as well. So it's not a mainstream thing. So it was super, super fascinating. And I did that for a couple of years. And then, of course, that journey bounced into what would then become my next chapter, if you will. And I knew after experiencing that stuff that I wanted to start working with women. And I wanted women to know that the world is not what we think it is. From there, that led to a number of different businesses and ideas, which eventually landed me to where I am today with GRRRL Clothing. So yeah, it was definitely a roundabout process to get to where I am today, but we got there in the end. And hell, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And I'll be 40 here in about 6 months.
Hey, let's tell everybody, because we're having a little bit of a wonky connection, my friend, but that's okay because you're down in Australia and I'm up here in San Francisco, and your brand, GRRRL's Clothing, is all over the world, right?
Yeah. So I ended up starting a program for teenage girls, and I wanted to teach teenage girls the tools of self-love and the importance of sisterhood. And we did that for a couple years, and it was amazing. And we had 62 graduates and amazing results. But one of my partners got pregnant, and in the downtime, we thought, how do we take the same vision and mission and roll it into something that's global and is going to impact women as well as their daughters? And then from there, that's where GRRRL Clothing was born. So we actually just took the same vision and mission, rolled it into a clothing line, and along the way decided, you know what, we're going to do away with traditional sizes, because as women, we always want to be a smaller size, generally speaking. And we're going to use athletes' names and body types so women could look to a strong, powerful athlete as opposed to being a number or a stigma. And we banished Photoshop and airbrush because we want to use all things that make us human, which also builds authenticity and builds instant trust. So that worked really well for us as well. And we've grown over the past 5.5 years to, 55,000 customers globally, and we've barely just scratched the surface. So it's really exciting.
And Kortney, say a little bit, because I love, of course, that you have non-traditional sizing. Also, though, there's a mission and a philosophy behind your brand. Let's tell everybody what that is, because it's worth noting.
The big thing is learning to accept your body and focusing on what your body can do as opposed to what it looks like. And beyond that, once we're able to do that and we stop seeing other women as our competition, then we start creating a sisterhood. Because as women, we believe that women are programmed to see each other as competition. And that's why we're held back as a gender. So this whole philosophy is around building ourselves up. And then in turn, that will automatically build other women up. And we'll start working together to create a new paradigm where it is co-creation, supporting each other. Because the experience that we had from Camp Confidence was that all of these negative things we experience as humans comes from isolation and feeling like you're not a part of a group, or you don't fit in, you don't belong, you're not loved, you're not supported. And when you take that away and you create this community, such as you have, that's when all the change happens. That's when you can flourish. And so that's really the key message is, learning to accept yourself, because self-love is such a buzzword these days. And it's like, well, what does that even mean? So we talk a lot about body neutrality as opposed to body positivity, because it's hard to be positive about your body every damn day. Some days you're happy and some days you're just like, so we're neutral. We accept it. It is what it is. Stay grateful, and then focus on how we can be of service to somebody else and get out of that self-centeredness. So yeah, that's really what it is at the end of the day, is being able to see, especially when you see another girl in the street wearing girl clothing, and then you're like, oh, hey girl, straight away that's your sister and not your competition. Right. That part's super cool.
Now, Kortney, last night I was on Clubhouse. Are you on Clubhouse, my friend?
Yeah.
And we hosted a room on creating a community, a women's community, client community. And, you have 55,000 customers around the world. And of course, that's very impressive. What I am most excited about in your business, in addition to the amazing clothing, is the community that you have cultivated of like-minded women that are lifting each other up. I have spoken at, I don't know if it's hundreds, but it's probably close to hundreds of women's conferences in my career in 5 continents. And your Girl Live event was the most uplifting, empowering, amazing event that I was honored to speak at and be a part of.
That's amazing.
And I want to let you know that I was very impacted from that conference, and I will be forever. And I want to ask you to say a little bit about how you have consciously curated or cultivated, and maybe it wasn't even conscious, I don't know, but your community, and a little bit about how you interact with your customers around the world, because this is something for all entrepreneurs to know.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the thing that has created this strength in this community is coming back to this common denominator of that we're all there because we're tired of our hurt. We're tired of the negative relationship with ourselves. We're tired of hating our bodies, and I think all these women are striving to want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so when you make that clear, and, I think it all comes through with our pledge. The pledge is on all of our hang tags. So when we started Camp Confidence, I wrote this pledge, and it says, I solemnly swear to the best of my ability to refrain from talking negatively about myself as well as other girls. I'm an equal amongst my peers, and I do not see myself as neither better than nor less than. Through this pledge of non-judgment, I understand and embrace that I am having a positive impact on the world and furthering the global revolution of body acceptance. And that is what the teenagers would do at Camp Confidence. And then they'd get these little cyan, crappy Live Strong style silicone bands, right? And so if they saw other girls out on the street, they knew like, oh, hey, that's my sister. And so now that silicone band has now transformed into clothing, leggings, a t-shirt. And that pledge is now on all of our swing tags on our clothing. So I think as soon as somebody gets the gear, they know, I know that they get the gear, they see the swing tag, and they know that that is our guiding principle. That's why we're there, is to stop talking negatively about ourselves and as well as other girls. It just sums it up so clearly. And sometimes women will take that pledge and they'll start crying. We take it to expos and women they'll start crying because they haven't actually had that conversation with themselves yet. And we're all in different places with it, but it creates awareness. And I think that's the most important thing is, if there's no awareness of a problem to solve, then there's no problem to solve. So this just clearly states what the problem is. We're going to do our best to solve it, and we're doing it together collectively. And so I think that guiding principle is what helps bring everybody together. So if there's a way as an entrepreneur for you to say, all right, here's the problem. Here's how we're going to solve it. And it's through our community. And you've got it somewhere that is constantly present. You refer back to it. Whenever we have meetings or ambassador calls, we start out with the pledge so we can be reminded of why we're here. So it's really great to have a piece like that, something written, even if it's one sentence, to use as your ultimate flashlight through everything. And to always have that on you. That would probably be my best piece of advice in my experience.
That's beautiful. And we'll put the pledge in the show notes, Kortney, so everybody
Cool.
can capture it. Now, Kortney, okay, so you talked about the pledge. I love it. And what else do you do to facilitate, cultivate, help the ladies connect, etc.? One of the many reasons why I loved your conference so much is these women have brand loyalty like I've never seen before, because it's not just a clothing brand, it's a movement, it's a philosophy, it's a mission. And so these women from all over, all shapes and sizes, I mean, they were so blessing, Kortney, to be in that room and be together. What are some of the other things that you feel have supported you in having this really army, as you call them, girl army, right, of women that are not only committed to being sisters, but committed to your brand?
I think it's because it's really hard to say because, we have our closed Facebook group and we've built an outside platform that mimics Facebook that we were going to transition to. But at the end of the day, people, I think, get exhausted from there just being so many apps and so many platforms. And that is a big part of the problem with society today is we are so far removed, a lot of us, from nature and ourselves. And we think that because we have all these other connections outside of us that we shouldn't be lonely. But the reality is that the more that we're connected in, it takes us away from ourselves. So it's hard to say, but I know a lot of women have built friendships off of that. And also because we've had a live event for 3 years in a row. Like our very first year, we did it in 2016 because, I still owe the bank like $14,000 from our very first event. So we broke even basically on the second and third year and have learned a lot of valuable lessons along the way. And I said in 2019, you recall, I was like, we're taking 2020 off. Okay.
Right.
And fortunately we did. And I would love to get back and do this next event. So having those in-person experiences and then being able to meet the people you've been talking to, I think created a lot of really strong relationships. And I also think these women see the authenticity. And that's a big thing. You can't fake that shit. Women can spot bullshit from a mile away. And, there's so many other brands who've tried to come in and say, oh, we're body positive and have put a bigger girl on a banner on their website or something. And that's it. And, they might have been able to grow faster or be more profitable this far. But for us, it's slow and steady wins the race, because to have clothing that fits 10 different sizes, as opposed to your, normal range of small to large or even extra large, because 95% of women's athletic wear is made for 30% of women. And so you stop and think about that. You're like, wow, that's a lot of women not being catered to. And a lot of women who are disenfranchised with brands that don't speak to them. Right. So I think we're one of the first brands that has had the thing that they were looking for, the call to action that we are created equal. We can do all of these things and then some. And I definitely think the watermelon crushing saga has helped a lot. It's found a lot of women, and it's a message of women are built to be powerful. We have a pain threshold that's through the roof.
Let's tell everybody, because everybody may not know, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but that you have been named the woman with the world's strongest thighs, right?
Deadliest, yeah.
World's deadliest thighs. And one of the ways you prove that is that you smash a watermelon between your thighs, and you were kind enough to come to my center in San Francisco, the Thriving Women in Business Center, for one of our special events with my VIP clients, and you crushed the watermelon between your thighs, and the ladies absolutely loved it. You've been on the Jimmy Kimmel show doing that. You've been around the world doing that. And that definitely has helped your brand, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's really, guys would always want to turn it into something sexual when it first started being viral. And women know that, no, this is brute sheer strength. This is
Mhm.
force. This takes 250 pounds of pressure to crush this thing. And, next up, we're in line for a human skull if we need to. Like, you mess with the wrong bitch. Like, you might want to rethink about your decisions
Right.
here, homeboy. Yeah, I think that's definitely helped. But being authentic and staying true to your vision and mission, because we could have just dialed back our sizes and gone in and gotten material that is cheaper, such as seamless products, and just marketed that and stuck with those smaller sizes and became more profitable. But that's not why we're here.
Right.
We're here to help women radically change their perception of their body. And that's what women can see. And so they stick around for the long shot, because there's so many places to buy activewear from now, but people want to be a part of something. And I feel like we're now getting ready to go into our next round of funding and really about to turn that corner into being able to create an activism arm of GRRRL where we collectively sign petitions, talk about issues and
Mhm.
make sure that we're actually doing things to take care of the planet and not just be consumers, because this shit's not going to last very long, you know?
So, Kortney, I got to
Yeah,
ask you two more questions, okay? The first one is, now, don't you have a new book that just came out?
I do. I
How's the
absolutely
report?
do. It's called Crushing It. It's a mammoth in
Man,
its
that is a
current
big,
format.
big book, my friend.
Yeah,
Wow. Is it
it
available
is.
on Audible?
Not yet. I've just
Okay.
got all my recording equipment to record it when I get back to the States in a month. Just currently on Amazon. We hit
Okay.
bestseller status when we launched it, which was really
Congratulations.
exciting. And now I definitely need to find the right PR person who has experience in books, because I've had a number of women message me that have said this book just saved my life. I didn't know I was an alcoholic. I've had some pretty intense feedback, and I think it's worth chasing, because you know what it's like as an entrepreneur or something that you've birthed. You're like, you think it's the greatest things since sliced bread, but you know getting the feedback. And of course books are hard. I mean, my gosh, I'm still upside down, probably about $5,000 from costs and stuff. But at the end of the day, if we can use this to change lives and help spread the message of GRRRL, then that's all I'm really here for.
Well, here's what I want to say, though. My friend, you impact the life of everybody you come in contact with. You
Thank you.
uplift every life you come in contact with. You are such a leader. I have also had the privilege of watching you speak many times. You own a room, you own a platform, you bring massive value. You are probably one of the most authentic, vulnerable speakers I've ever heard. You're changing lives, not just with your brand, with your book, with every time you open your mouth.
Thank you.
Please know that. I know that you know that, but I'm just reminding
Yeah,
you.
I really appreciate it. And that's why we create these communities and
Yeah,
sisterhoods, so we can remind each other.
absolutely. Now, Kortney, what's next for you? And I'm hoping
That's
you're going to get busy with the conference, because I want to come back and speak, because I was.
yeah, we definitely want to do that. What's next is fundraising. We get in that next round so we can really catapult into the next stratosphere, galaxy, whatever. But the other thing I've done recently is I took a course. I took the course 5.5 years ago, well, 6 years ago now, and it's called Psych K. And it's a modality to access your subconscious and create new beliefs and to transform stress. And it's really straightforward. But the thing of it is the originator of it is really protective of the content and making sure it keeps its integrity. So there's only 35 instructors worldwide who are qualified to teach the workshops, and a lot of them don't travel because it's been around since 1988. And so, a lot of people have heard of tapping, and this is, in my humble opinion, every modality has a different thing and it's
Mhm.
useful for certain stuff, but this, I believe, is way more effective, way more powerful than anything out there. And it's easy to learn and anybody can access it. And it's something that I feel every school guidance counselor should have in their back pocket, or people just to use on themselves. So I'm hoping that I can take this and take it on a mainstream level and be holding a lot of workshops and empowering women that way, because it's great to give people a pair of leggings, but now what?
Well, my friend, sign me up. I'm ready to come.
Okay,
Learn
let's
from
do
you.
that.
Hey, you know, I got my place in San Francisco. The place is yours any day you want.
That's amazing.
So
We
I
could
know
absolutely.
we only have 40 chairs, so that's going to be about 1/10 as big as you're going to need. But if you want to do a little something, it's yours anytime. You know,
That's amazing.
We can do a hybrid. You can have ladies in the room and they can zoom in from all over the world, which is what we were doing even before the pandemic. Okay,
Right.
bing, bing. Kortney Olson, any final words, my friend?
I just am super grateful that we're still connected and, you know, we're out there doing the damn thing and cultivating these amazing communities. And I super appreciate the opportunity and look forward to keeping in touch and seeing what happens next.
I'm here to serve or support you any way I can. I love everything you're up to. Every gal I met at your event was a woman's woman, ready to uplift all the women around her. And those are my kind of women. And by the way, tell everybody the website because they're going to want to go check out your amazing clothing, which they don't even maybe know.
GRRRL. It's the G with 3 R's and then an L.com. That's it.
Okay, girl.com, 3 R's. Amazing, amazing activewear. Women on a mission. Kortney, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Sounds good, darling. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. My friends, please connect with Kortney. She uplifts every room she walks into, and she'll uplift you. By the way, if you are not a member of our Facebook group, Thriving Women in Business, please join us. Please check out CaterinaRando.com, and you can also find out about our upcoming workshops. I always have a free workshop every month that you can attend. And guess what? If you are on Clubhouse, please join us in the Thriving Women in Biz Club. We have rooms every week that you can jump into, and I'm here to support you to build your fempire, expand your fempire, thrive and bliss everywhere in your business and your life. Talk to you again soon.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Expand Your Fempire with Caterina Rando.